No matter how stable your job feels, no matter how well it's paying you, no matter how much you get along with your coworkers or your manager or even just the store owner or whatever the case is, understand that your job does not truly care about you. If you dropped dead tomorrow, your company would have you replaced within a week. Maybe they'll have like a little, meeting in the back, and then they'll, say like, oh, this person was such a good worker. But then, a few days after, they're going to have someone else working your position that you had. And that's a very harsh reality that you have to accept if you want to build a comfortable life for yourself, right? So right now, with cost of living rising endlessly and with more Americans finding it hard to live a comfortable life, everyone just working 24/7 it seems, which is very depressing to think about. You understand that the job is not increasing their wages to keep up with inflation. So every now and then you might get a 50-cent raise here and there, maybe like every year and a half or so if you really stay loyal to your company. But one thing that I've noticed with with other workers, and so in my case, every single job that I've had, I stayed at for at least like 2 to 4 years on average, right? So the last job that I worked, I started in like October of 2023. And then, I worked there like up until now basically, right? So yeah, about 3 years almost that I worked at, this exact company. And then, previously before that, I worked at a, dollar store, and then I also liquor store after that. And so the dollar store position that I had, I was at for about 4 years. So from like 2018 to, beginning of 2022 was when they let me go. And that's a whole other story in itself. But I remember when I was working at that dollar store job, that position that I worked had it had a very high turnover rate. So I'll just say the name of the company. Family Dollar was the company that I worked for a couple years ago. And if you look online, like worst companies to work for in America, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, and Dollar General, all three of those are like in the top 3 worst companies to work for. And that's because of how much they expect out of you for very little in return. And for that reason, the average person who, gets a job there, they maybe work there for a couple months, and then every single person that I've worked with, either they quit on the spot with no notice, they got fired, or they stopped showing up to work, or they cussed out the manager, and there was just a lot of animosity towards one another. So one thing that I experienced at that job was coworkers would often gossip about each other, which is very annoying. I've always been the type of person where I like to stay to myself when I'm at work. I like to just clock in, do what's required to the best of my ability, get the check, go home, and then work on other things. Work on other ways to make money so that I don't have to, be a wage slave for the rest of my life, basically, right? So, for that reason, I just don't really care about, the whole, work politics and all that going on. But one thing that I experienced, in this position was people strived on seeing others like miserable basically, right? So one minute you'd be, vibing with a coworker, and then you and this person would be talking about, some other coworker who's been like misbehaving or whatever, and then next thing you know, that coworker and then that other coworker you were talking about, they're then gossiping about you, and then you and that other coworker are gossiping about. So it's kind of like this triangular, like gossip type circle, basically. And that was one thing that happened quite often at that job. And so I have a few other stories that I could go into about that position, but one instance that really sticks out in particular was I had to work an open to close on one particular day because there was like no one else available to work. And so the way how this company was structured was there was typically like 2 or 3 people working in that store, the entire time. And so every now and then there'd be like one person, but there would be the, manager type person, which is usually stocking stuff in the back. And then you have the cashier, which is ringing up, customers in the front. So, yeah, so that, that's kind of how the store was run. And so the the corporation and the store lead would expect you to basically have the entire store stocked, and then also have all the aisles recovered, while simultaneously having to ring up customers. And so if it's like a really busy day, for example, and there's a massive line going for let's say hours on end, and it's really busy, they don't care about that at all. They just expect you to just continue working. And if you don't get everything done, even if you're stuck on the register, they're basically gonna yell at you, basically. So that was what I experienced. And so even on days where I would take like energy shots, just so I could sprint back and forth and try to work as quickly as I could. But even then, it was very difficult to get everything done, and I would often get yelled at for not working hard enough, even though I was really rushing to get everything done in time. And so no matter how hard you work at a lot of these corporations, it's often never enough. And the amount of pay that you're getting for it is just not worth it at all. And so one thing that happened quite a lot that I mentioned was people would quit, very quickly, right? So they'd either quit, they'd stop showing up, like I mentioned. And so when I was like the one like loyal employee aside from like the main manager, I used to think like, man, all these people, they don't want to work, right? They're lazy. They don't want to show up. But then as time progressed, I kind of started to think like, wait, actually, these people are actually the smart ones. Like, I'm the dummy because I'm loyal to this company, and me being the loyal person just leads me to getting more work put on my back. So if someone didn't show up that day, then I would have to do double the work, because I have to make up for the person that didn't show up. And then there was one particular day where I had to do the open and close. I worked that entire day almost entirely by myself. And then the next day I had to work like 7 a.m. to like 7 p.m. and the store closed at like 10 p.m. I get home and my manager texts me and then says like, hey, can you come back to work tonight, to like close the store or something, or work like another hour. And I'm like, at that point I was just super exhausted. I'm like, no, man, I got to get some rest. And then like 10 minutes later, he sends me like a very angry message saying like, oh, thanks a lot. Because you didn't show up to work, I couldn't watch a movie with my wife. And I remember looking at that text, like I just felt really pissed off. I didn't respond to it because I'm like, this is just petty. And then like the next day I had to work, I had to work extra hours because my manager had this like doctor's appointment. And then eventually I sent him like a long message saying that I was going to quit. Like, this is complete BS and I don't like the way you're treating me. And then finally he gave me like an extra day off or something like that. So then I ended up staying. And eventually I got let go from that company because there was one particular day where me and him switched shifts. So I was originally going to go in, in the evening, but then I was switched in the morning, and I forgot that it was on that specific day. So I remember on that morning I woke up thinking, okay, I work in the evening, and then at like 12 p.m. he calls me, he's like saying like, hey, where are you? Why aren't you at work? And then I'm like, I thought I worked in the evening. He's like, no, we switched, remember? And then, long story short, turned out that the store had lost like $3,000 because I wasn't there on time, and there was no one else working in the store. So, I had to like open up the store and basically run there. And then I ended up, getting let go. It wasn't right away, but it was like a few weeks after that. And they originally transferred me to a different store. And then, right around that same time, the owner of the liquor store that I mentioned, he just offered me the position. I thought, okay, well, this is closer to where I live, so I just took that position. Then I ended up leaving, basically. So, one other story that I want to give as far as why corporations don't care about you was at my last job. There was this one coworker that I had, really cool guy, right? Me and him got along very well. He was like in his mid 40s. And he worked there like kind of in the beginning when I first started working there. And he told me that he actually used to work at Blockbuster when that store was still around. He was a manager for Blockbuster in like the early 2000s, and I think he mentioned that he was making like $30 or something an hour. And I said to him like, dude, you were balling back then. Like, Like that's awesome, right? So yeah, he would like travel to different like Blockbuster stores, and so I remember there was one instance where he like he was gonna get like this bonus pay, like he was gonna get like an extra $300 or something because he had been at the job for a while, and then he ended up having to take like a sick day or something like that, or some I don't remember what it was, but I remember he was telling me the story because he was like really like pissed off when it happened, and because he took that day off, they didn't give him that extra money that he was promised. So they, you know, eventually they just rejected it altogether, and that was like really short notice where he like really needed the money. So yeah, he ended up cussing out the manager at the time, and I said to him like, well, you shouldn't cuss her out because she didn't really have anything to do with it. It was more of like, you know, the higher ups, you know, the company CEO or whatever, or yeah, the store district person. The manager likely had nothing to do with it, and that's what I told him. But that is just another example of how, you know, these corporations, they don't care about you at all. They just want you to keep working endlessly. They want to treat you like cattle, and they want you to pay you just enough where you keep showing up to work, and it puts a ton of fatigue on you where you don't have the energy to find a way out. Like when you get home from work, you know, typically you just want to relax, you want to watch a movie, you want to play a video game, and you just want to enjoy the rest of the day. But yeah, that's what keeps people stuck in the 9-to-5 rat race. So the message that I want to get out in this video, you know, if there's anything that I want you to take away, is do not rely on your 9-to-5, no matter how stable it feels. And that's also because of the fact that, you know, these corporations can fire you at any time, you can get laid off, or there is also the risk of AI taking over positions. So best thing that you could do is figure out a way to build multiple streams of income outside of the traditional 9-to-5. A lot of people, when they hear that, they're going to think, okay, well, I'll just do Uber for an extra 10 hours a week, or I'll do DoorDash or something like that. That's not what I'm referring to at all, because at the end of the day, you are still trading time for money, and you are wasting gas money. So best thing that you could do is figure out a way to learn a high income skill that you could do preferably online, because that will give you more freedom and flexibility, and that's ultimately what you want, you know, in this era more than anything else. So making money online is the best thing that we have right now in the modern world that I just cannot recommend enough. Start some sort of online business, start a YouTube channel, learn AI, learn how to, you know, do digital marketing, for example. There's all these different things you could do to make an extra money. And the best part is you could do it on the side of your 9-to-5 on your own terms. So creating content, for example, you can post videos whenever you want. The more videos you post, the more likely that one of them will go viral. And even if they're very basic videos like this with no editing at all, people are going to relate to you because people are craving authenticity. So this is just one idea that I want to throw out for you. Maybe content creation isn't for you. Maybe you want to do like Amazon FBA, for example, but there's plenty of things out there. You just want to do your due diligence, see what resonates with you, and then of course go all in when you find something that that you resonate with. So that's the message I want to put out. Hope you found this video valuable. Let me know your thoughts down below. Give us a thumbs up and take care. See you in the next one.